Hey, what is up, everybody? So I decided to try out this new mic I have here. I'm away from my typical setup, but I'm going to be using this on my second channel most likely. Wanted to sort of change up the setting a little bit so I can sort of do it wherever. And it's the channel where I talk more about my faith. So if you want to see that, I'll leave a link in the description down below. But that's why this is situated as it is, and hopefully it works properly. I'm going to test it out. We'll see here. So I want to react to some quotes from Davante Adams on K Adams' show Up and Adams yesterday. And so I want to read a few of these quotes here. I've had some issues sharing audio recently, getting copyrighted or them putting copyright claims on my videos from different places. So I'm going to read them here so that things go more smoothly. And so Kay Adams is interviewing Davante Adams yesterday, and she starts off by asking, "How do you feel about the Packers? The idea that they can make a run like they did last year?" Davante says, "I mean, they gotta. They Super Bowl contenders for sure. I mean, the way they playing, the way Jordan's played, and the way he's battled through adversity when he hasn't played great this year. You look at even some of the guys like Reed, who maybe been a little bit more quiet lately, and to be able to still win games without guys playing their very best, I mean, that takes a good team. So, once they get everything rolling, it's going to be tough for anybody to be able to mess with them heading into the playoffs. So it's exciting to watch." And Davante Adams, 100% right on that fact. I think we all know the Packers have the ability to be a Super Bowl contender. I think they can make it to a Super Bowl. The question is, will all of it come together consistently for this team? And one area which we talked about so much before the season, which everyone was asking about, who's the Packers wide receiver one? Who's the guy who's going to rise above the rest and be that potentially legit number one guy? And so far this season, I don't know if we've really seen it that much. For a while, it really looked like Jaden Reed was going to be the one to sort of surpass everyone else in a big way. But now with only 3 games left, it's looking more like it's more of a combination of the different receivers. And that's the one benefit that we talked about as well. Many people have talked about is when you don't have one guy that the defense can sort of try to focus on shutting down, it sort of keeps you free to do a lot more things with your offense. And one of the benefits as well is when you have an injury, let's say like Romeo Doubs being down a few games, you have enough talent where you're not even going to feel the effects. And I think that when you have a team that's so deep at a certain position, when there's some teams where if you lose your top receiver, then it's sort of like, man, it's going to be tough for them to compete. It's going to be tough for the offense to get going when you sort of have everything tied up in one guy. But with the Packers, it's all spread around. I think in years past when Davante was here, if Davante would go down, sure, depending on the year, there are different guys who could come in and make an impact. But I think that, having a Davante type receiver and not having a lot of other talent that's close to his level, it does make you a little bit, weak, just because if you lose one guy, things are sort of rough. With this Packers offense, if you were to lose Romeo, as we already saw, the Packers can make a way. If you are to lose Christian, the Packers can be okay. I mean, you can sort of lose any of these guys and still be able to compete because of the amount of weapons you have here. So, Davante makes some good points there. Then Kay says the Jordan Love late season effect. What is that? What happens? And then Davante says, you get in a groove, man. You start to figure it out, like I said before. He's like the coolest quarterback in the game. So, you can see that whenever he makes a mistake, he just doesn't look too rattled by it. It's kind of like he literally forgot about it. It's time to move on, and that's what you need out of a quarterback. With that supporting cast, it's going to make it very easy on him. And I was watching the past game for the Packers in the Seahawks game, and they showed Jordan Love on the sideline. He's just sitting there just like completely locked in, super calm. And that's one thing that Brian Gutekunst had even talked about when it comes to Jordan Love is just his mental makeup, the way that he processes things, the way that he's able to bounce back from mistakes. And I think that that's very important in a quarterback is their ability to handle bad plays. And, how do you respond when you throw an interception? Does it mess with you mentally to where then you're scared to go out and play football? Or are you able to just forget it ever happened and go out and keep, taking chances and playing like the quarterback you really are? And I think there are a lot of quarterbacks in the league that You throw a pick, it throws you off, you have a bad rest of the game, and that is not Jordan Love. He's not afraid to take risks, and when things go south, he's not afraid to come back out and continue firing, continue playing at the same level that he's played at, even, when he makes mistakes. And that's one thing too. Jordan Love's ability to come into a second half, even if the first half was really bad, and play at a top tier level. We've seen that happen consistently, and that's the thing where you don't want to have to see it happen consistently, where you have a slow start. But it's good to know that Jordan Love is the quarterback, the kind of quarterback where he can have a bad first half and come out and turn it around completely. And so that's something that you need in the NFL when you're playing top tier teams in the playoffs. You may have a bad start in a game, and how are you going to respond? And I think we've seen just how well Jordan does respond in those situations. Then Kay Adams is talking here about the Packers over the years losing different players like Aaron Rodgers, like Davante Adams, like Aaron Jones. And she says, basically asking, what does it say about the Packers that even when you're losing all these guys, they're able to continue to play at a high level? Davante says, it's winning organizations. So you learn how to figure it out. They were good before I got there, and they'll be good long after I'm gone. So it says a lot about their ability to bring the right guys in. And, obviously the discipline that it takes to win is tough. And not that it's been perfect every year, but to be able to be a really solid team over the course of a decade or more, that's really tough to do. So I got a lot of respect for the front office over there, and obviously all the players that contribute. And when you look at other organizations around the NFL, teams like the Bears, who unfortunately for them just struggle to find consistent success, a team like the Bears that also has struggled in times past to hit on a quarterback. I'm not sure about Caleb Williams right now. I think he has a lot of talent. He can make plays at times, but I'm still not sold on Caleb Williams. But when you just look at all these other organizations around the league, you see how blessed the Packers are to have an organization where they consistently make right decisions. Now, are they perfect? No. But where they have been nearly perfect for the past 30-ish years is the quarterback position. And I think that's the main reason the Packers organization has had this level of success. Because let's say, the Packers, instead of drafting Jordan Love, had drafted, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a mid-tier quarterback. Let's say Justin Fields. Actually, I feel like if Justin Fields sat behind Rodgers for 3 years, he would have looked better than he did in Chicago. But let's just say, that Justin Fields we saw in Chicago, he was okay at times. If the Packers had that quality of quarterback, or other guys like him, come up with whoever else you can think of in that, average to slightly below average range, the Packers would not be the team they are. Brett Favre, for a long time, was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers, for a long time, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Still, you could still argue it. And then Jordan Love now is playing as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So it's no shock that when you consistently have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, you consistently have one of the best teams in the NFL. So I think the Packers organization, if they missed on quarterback, it wouldn't look like it does. And so thank goodness the Packers are good at scouting quarterbacks and good at making decisions when it may not be popular, like Gutekunst going and drafting Jordan Love when Aaron is still there. If that didn't happen, we'd be sitting here right now with who knows who at quarterback, potentially, looking at a 5-win team, a 4-win team, and sort of stuck in a spot like the Bears have been for a long time. Then the final question I'll touch on here, Kay Adams brings up that 2 of Davante's best seasons were with Matt LaFleur, and asks what's LaFleur's role in all of this. And Davante says this: LaFleur is the type of guy that he obviously learned from some guys that are really smart and have a system that works really well. And he does a good job of not just trying to make what he has fit a system he wants to play, but, adapt to who you have. And when your personnel, you have a lot of good players that can do different things. Obviously, it puts defenses and just other teams in general in a bind. So I had a lot of respect for his ability to listen, honestly, because I don't know how much is going on there. But obviously having a guy like Aaron, a guy like me, who we have a lot of ideas, a lot of experiences, and, preferences to be an open coach like that, when you don't have to, you can come in, right, and put your foot down and say we're doing things my way. But he didn't, and he listened. And I feel like that made us, much better than we would have been had he come in and just did it solely his way. So that makes it sound to me like Matt LaFleur is very open to, looking at the talent he has on the roster and not trying to force things when maybe the talent isn't there. I think he's blessed with some of the best talent in the NFL, thanks to the Packers scouting department, Brian Gutekunst. It's easy to overlook. You bring up the Packers receiver corps, it's like, oh, they're awesome. All right, check. What's next? Let's look at something that's wrong with the Packers. But it is important to note. I mean, the offense the Packers have built. I assume Matt LaFleur, has some input into some of these drafting decisions, but most of it comes down to the scouting department, Brian Gutekunst making those, final decisions. And I mean, just think of the offense the Packers have built over the past few years with really, really young talent. Romeo Doubs, 4th rounder, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Tucker Kraft in the 3rd round. I mean, this offense is one of the best in the NFL. And if the Packers had not hit on these players as they did, it wouldn't look quite the same. I think they'd still be fine with lesser type receivers just because of how good Jordan Love is. But the Packers, for years haven't drafted a 1st-round receiver, and it's no shock why. When you consistently have success of finding talent that ends up playing, like, let's say, 1st-rounder talent, like Davante Adams not being a 1st-round draft pick, why would the Packers, looking at their history of success, drafting receivers outside of round 1, ever draft a receiver round 1? Unless, there could be some day in the future where it happens, but the Packers are good at finding receiver talent anywhere in the draft. So bringing it back to Matt LaFleur, I sort of went on a tangent there on Brian Gutekunst and these receivers, but Matt LaFleur has done a good job of, taking all this talent and making it one of the best offenses in the NFL. And it seems like a guy like the players really want to play for, a guy who's open to, what people are thinking and things like that. So some nice words there from Davante. And he also brought up after that Kay Adams brought up Coach of the Year, Matt LaFleur potentially, and Davante said he's definitely one worthy of the Coach of the Year. I'm not sure if he's really in those talks. I haven't really looked into what people are thinking right now when it comes to Coach of the Year. But when you look at, what he did with Malik Willis coming in and playing that well, there's no doubt that he is one of the best in the league, one of the best offensive play callers in the NFL. And of course, you can always nitpick every single play caller, even the great play callers. But when you consistently have done with when you have consistently done what Matt LaFleur's done with Aaron Rodgers, with Jordan Love, consistently one of the best offenses in the league, there's no doubt that Matt LaFleur is a massive part of that. But that's pretty much it from Davante. I hope this mic was actually working this whole time and I didn't just sit here, muted. If that's the case, you won't see this video, but I assume you will because the green dot is still on, so we're good there. But thank you for watching. If you want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe down below. I'll leave the link to my 2nd channel on Faith where I may be using this setup more. We'll see. I'm just sort of testing it out now. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.